my next fabulous announcement is we have voted as a board to grant Fran emeritus status. And that means she doesn't have to pay anymore because we so value your contributions. And with that, you get to come up and read your poem.
Dimitri, don't do that. That's all right.
It's different looking out at all of you. Okay, my name is Fran Claggett. I'm supposed to tell Roger that. Okay, thank you. I need to know whether you can hear me. My voice is it okay? Good, thank you. I want to thank you all for giving this Fran Claggett Award to Linda Reed. Linda was in my first class that I taught at Ollie. It was memoir class. And when I got finished with the class, I knew that there was someone very special in my class. And I went up and I said, you know what I'd really like to do? I'd like to have a small poetry group, and I'd like not to have to lead it. Would you be interested, Linda? And she said, yes.
I have to say what I did was I said, yes, Fran, that would be very nice. And then I ran home and said, Harry, Frank Claggett wants to be in a group with me. And it was Fran that got me to join the poetry group that I love. Our poetry group, we meet on Monday Poets. A lot of them are here today. And it was Fran. It was Fran. So thank you, Fran.
And Harry Reid was part of our first group. He was absolutely wonderful. I love Harry. And I carry Harry with me wherever I go. You see that little walker over there? That was Harry's. And it's now mine. So I love it. I would like to read 3 poems. That's what Les said I could do. If I came and I wore this, she wanted me to wear this. It only took me 45 minutes at home to find it. But she found it.
Doesn't she look fabulous?
I would like to read a poem that was selected by Naomi Shihab-Nye. Many of you know her as a poet, to be in the New York Times magazine section. I wrote it for one of my 2 sons. I have 2 sons who are both students of mine. And this was written by my student number 1, son number 1, Michael Franco. On taking the measure of your book. Tell me if you can't hear. Is it okay? There must be a way to enter your poetry, the way your words turn into meaning after meaning, into the depths of memory, into the silence of the beach, which of course is never silent, but it seems so when I am there alone. And then the birds come over the dunes, the sandpipers, silent in sand, creating the rhythm of your poem. And far out beyond my eyes, the great white pelicans. As I watch them, I see how I must enter your poetry, wings folded against the wind, as I slice again and again into the measure of your ocean, there where silence is translated into language. Yes. Michael is a wonderful poet, and he lives near Harvard Yard, 25 minutes to walk from Harvard Yard to his house, and about once a month he has poetry and art covering the walls of his, what do you call those places where they used to park their carriage house. He does the carriage house readings every month, and of course living so close to Harvard, whenever any poet of note comes to Harvard, he snatches them and brings them back. I would next like to read a poem that came to me by magic. It's called A Field Guide to Memory. And it's in two parts, but I'll just read part one. The Bird Woman. No one else is alive who remembers. The future in the poem is not beholden to its past. Carefully I fill in the dates in April, only one birthday there, but March was busy with birthdays and doctors. It is March, and the poinsettia's red leaves are still hanging, creating a future that may outlast the calendar. Departures from the ordinary, the familiar, the prosaic, predictable as neurons in the hippocampus, move in the direction of tropes, undefined miracles, secrets, myths. Notice the visible quality of silence, drawing the line over the unsaid. End with the image, don't explain. The bird woman stands by the window, dreaming in a cloud cover. Yesterday I went to a workshop on Zoom. I do a lot of Zooming from the Eastern Shoreboard. Some of the rest of you, Robin goes there all the time and Barbara goes. They have wonderful poetic things, and there was a teacher there who said, my workshop is going to be all about the unsaid. And I thought, I've already done that poem. I have a poem on the unsaid. I didn't read it to them, but I thought it was interesting that so many of us, work with silence. How many of you have written a poem about silence? Okay, here we go. If you haven't yet, try it. The last poem I'm going to read, I thought I would read because it's very timely for many of us. It's called The Final Eclipse. If you follow Laurie Robinson's Poem a Day, you have already heard this poem or read it because he printed it today. And then Les printed it. She's a Poem a Day person too, and she published the same poem. So I'm going to read it to you. If I were Rebecca Everett, I would say it because she memorizes all the poems. This is called Final Eclipse. It's in 3 parts. It's short. Part 1. That first eclipse shuttered the sun. Its colors purpled the sky-dark air. Stars trembled, and the people stood still. Part 2. When the sun disappeared during the hunt, the mastodon found refuge in the wide open space. The people watched the mountain fall into the water. As the penumbra darkened the plain between the shadow of the moon and the hidden sun, birds searching for their nests swept the sky in great scarves of ravened geometry, and the people covered their eyes. Part 3. Eons later, what does it matter to know that exotic particles operate against the wishes of gravity? That's what the scientist said. That's a quote. When you see the world you have lived in all these years darken before your eyes, you scan the sky for birds, but they have all flown toward the moon, and you know you are completely, inextricably alone. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. All this care.
Hi, everybody. I am Les Bernstein. Roger. And I thought I would start by telling you some quotes about what poetry is. So the first one's by Auden. He says, a poet is, before anything else, a person who is passionately in love with language. He also said, poetry is the clear expression of mixed feelings. Frost said, poetry is when an emotion has found its thought, and thought has found words. Christopher Fry says, poetry is the language in which man explores his own amazement. Alice Walker says, poetry is the lifeblood of rebellion, revolution, and the rising of consciousness. Plato, an oldie but a goodie, says, poetry is nearer to vital truth than history. And one of my favorites, Ferlin Gay, said, poetry is eternal graffiti written in the heart of everyone. And the last one is Marion Moore, and she says, poetry is the art of creating imaginary gardens with real frogs. So I thought we would start this auspicious occasion off a little bit differently. I have what I call the Reluctant Poets Club. I have 2 charter members now, Rebecca Everett and Gail Kissin. And these are 2 people who write gorgeous poems and then tell you they're not poets. So I said to Gail, given you're not a poet, but you happen to be a songwriter, I don't know why you don't think that that's some form of poetry, what would you say about me asking you to write a poem, a song for this occasion? And she agreed. So, Gail Kissin.
I'm the one that set this up. Oh, joy. Look at you. Thank you, Les, Linda, Fran. When I wrote this poem, I was not in a state of joy, but you're all poets, so it should be fine. My name is Gail Kissin.
And the song is?
And the song is called Held Hostage. Tears, they fall to no witness. Love finds no destination. Punching blindly through dark clouds. It's a desperate intention, useless from its inception. Endless war and endless trouble. Is this all we'll ever know? Blood-soaked seeds under rubble cannot grow. Our wingless cries arise in sadness for all the wars that will not cease. We keep falling prey to madness. We can't keep warring our way to peace. I could be your father, I could be a mother. We share together this threadbare world. You could be my sister, you could be my brother. We're not the other, no, no, we're not the other. Choking dove cries out in anguish she tenders her fragile plea. We are all of us held hostage to the lies of the war machine. I say the dream can be redeemed if we're willing to stop the killing. We'll be released to imagine a lasting peace.
So if you'd like to have the lyrics, you can email me, and Gail will get me lyrics to that. And Joanne has cards if you want to be able to reach Gail. So Joanne is wearing the gorgeous mustard top with the red underneath, which is a very nice combination. Roger, I'm Les Bernstein still. We're now going to start our readers coming up. When you come up, make sure that the mic is in the right location, a maximum of 2 poems, and I think that's all I need to tell you. So our first reader is going to be Robin Gabbert. Where are you, Robin?
It's in the back.
Right in the back, here she comes.
Can I just ask if there are any open chairs, if you could raise your hand?
There's one next to Roger,
Just walk to the door.
and there's one over here.
Pay attention to where there are open chairs if you want a seat. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Robin Gabbert. You'll be happy to hear I'm not going to be reading ekphrastic poetry for a change. You always hear that you should write about something you know, or sometimes you hear you should write about something you dream about. So these poems are based upon something I know, and also one is based upon something I dreamt. So something different for a change. The first one is called Kisses. 15, a milestone. The year I learned what it really was to kiss. Oh, I had kissed before. Made out in cars, on couches, tried on the experience with boys going through the same kissing motions. Lips together or mouths wide open with flopping tongues like eels on an exploratory mission. But at 15, a boy with freckles and a mischievous smile touched me with his tentative, unhurried, soft-seeking lips and gentle tongue. The universe drifted in a slow-moving arc around us. Eyes closed, I could feel only the pinprick of stars down my spine, could not see them spinning around us. I was spun into raw silk, immersed in a warm cocoon as I stood with him under my street lamp each night, hoping it would not be the last time, hoping to forever preserve a time when a kiss could make my bones light up like luminarias. And this is the one from a dream. The other one was true. This is called Now You See Him, Now You Don't. There was an old lover in my mirror when I brushed my teeth today. He stepped out of the shower, still looking youthful, in his 40s, He gave me a swat of his towel and a sweet, sloppy kiss. When I opened my eyes post-kiss, he was gone. I blinked again, wondered if I'd spit him down the drain with the toothpaste, or if he'd snuck out to go to work or walk the dog. I wanted to climb back into bed, close my eyes, see if it was a dream. If it was a dream, continue to the place I hoped it would go. Down byways of biceps, over to a hairy chest, thin slick of sweat, portending moisture to come later, lower. I tried to shake myself back into today, not wanting to return. I closed my eyes, sighed, wondered what tomorrow's toothbrushing would bring.
What a great way to start, toothpaste and kissing. Our next reader is Amrita Sky Lane.
Amrita Sky Blaine. My first poem is Fishers. And that's not fishermen, that's fissures like splits. Look for them, fractures where the light pours in. You need that light, like lentil soup and seeded bread on a savage day. Light that warms the bones, tunes the heart, and clarifies the mind. That light, pure. Look for fissures inside. This poem is called What's Missing, and the epigraph is, peace cannot be kept by force, it can only be achieved by understanding. Albert Einstein. Stand in their place. What do they see? Rain sleeting down, people dashing for cover. We all seek protection and warmth. In Ukraine, just like here, squirrels store acorns. Palestine sunbirds hunt bugs for their babies. Israeli ibex snag leaves from the trees. Everywhere the same, searching the way through life's puzzle. Why do humans choose bloodshed again and again? Aren't we taught when we're young, use your words? What's missing? Listen with care. Your very own self is speaking.
Wow, thank you. Our next reader is Linda Stamps. Hi, Roger. Linda Stamps. So we were asked to read 2 poems today, each of us. And what I'm going to do is read one poem, and I'm going to read it from top to bottom initially, and I'm going to read it from bottom to top the second time. I don't think you'll find a poem funny, but that was. Anyway, the title of the poem is Broken Open. Moments strung like pearls, bound by memories and miracles, clasped in pairs of opposites, shock and stillness, despair and hope, grief and joy, prayer beads, a mantra repeated, marking each plea offered from a heart laden with loss, circles of concentric time, then, now, when, a sea roiled with emotion. Seeing the luminous, I embrace grief like an old friend. Broken open, like an old friend,
I embraced grief, seeking a luminous, a sea roiled with emotion, then, now, when, circles of concentric time, from a heart laden with loss, marking each plea offered, prayer beads, a mantra repeated, grief and joy, despair and hope, shock and stillness, clasped in pairs of opposites, bound by memories and miracles, moments strung like pearls.
Our next reader is Linda Reed, our Renaissance woman.
Okay, so Les, thanks for setting this date. Goodbye, girls. Thank you for coming. My girls are. You're gonna listen to me first. Okay. Yeah, don't leave till I read, girls. Okay, Les is fast becoming the queen of poetry, and I know she set this day up, and it's really, really wonderful for us to be able to honor. I look out here, I see so many people. I just love you all. And back at the table back there. Come to the Apple Blossom art show. It's at the end of April, and there's a card back there. And also come visit my studio. I'm doing open studio, and it's in June, the first 2 weekends of June. So just come to my house. Okay, I'd love to see you. Okay, so I'm going to read 2 poems. All right, the first one is for spring. Nasturtiums. Does a nasturtium question its existence, the soul of its yellowness? Or what about pleasing? Does it care if you look what you see? Maybe it as a tree that falls in the wood. Who knows? Who cares? A seed from last year's withering vine, a cold and wet struggle through winter, a gradual warming of spring, a surge, bursting energy until voila, a dazzle of color, prolific abundance, more and more beauty on a binge. And then, what then? After the glow and the joy of color, a fading, a closing down to the end, only to begin again, a cycle. Is it satisfying? Does it matter how many witness the bloom? Anybody? Is it enough, the effort, the accomplishment? As we humans say, the journey. But then, do we even know what a nasturtium really wants? Thank you. This is called groped. Do you all know the term groped? Groped. This has been the winter of wrinkles, pronouncement of age. So I didn't know this was happen. So I didn't know this would happen. Do you know what I mean? Do I grope how life really works? Life is about moments, like when I found myself unable to speak at the curtain dropped on Swan Lake, or when wonder engulfed me as I lay in the grass in the field near where Virginia Woolf lived, looking at the clouds, nothing more in the moment, in England, walking. And loving is always perilous, but I'm a risk taker. My man was not a red rose. My man was wonderful and horrid, and I wouldn't give up a minute of him. I am sitting on a stack of words, sorting time between breaths, counting colors between sounds. Watch out, a poetry friend said. Sanity is just a click away, easy to follow the wrong God's home. Art is everything I am. Some say that art, and especially poetry, brings out what we've tried to hide. Often these days, I am a dialogue between 2 different feelings, sometimes driving holes in the dark. And you know what? I'm okay with all of this. Thank you.
I think Linda just took us to church. Our next reader is Pamela Heck. She's also another one of our multi-talented people. She has the most wonderful children's book about animals.
I think that's about right. I'm Pamela Heck. And sometimes it's the smallest little things that happen in life that generate a poem. This one, I walked into my bathroom one day and there was a teeny tiny little spider sitting on the mirror, and I wrote this poem. It's called Spider Relocation. Bad news keeps pouring in. I had no heart to kill today. I found her perched upon my mirror, perhaps to preen or just to snag a meal. A speck so small I almost didn't see. I am no fan of spiders, but this small thing required some inspection. Its minute body sprouting slender strands of leg like filament. I do not know what spiders think or feel, or even if, though captured in a cup, her frenzied circles showed distress. Released outside, she froze in place, then scurried off, perchance irate to trade her shiny mirror for gray cement. Now, this next poem, many years ago, I studied yoga with Swami Vishnu Devananda, and he told his students a little parable about a silly frog being swallowed by a snake. And so this poem is aptly named, I'm Being Swallowed by a Snake. The Buddha urges, be awake, but frog, unconscious of the snake, whose innards now massage each toe, seems unaware where he must go. Oblivious of his own behind, the frog has other things in mind. Looking out, his end is not in sight. And so he thinks it must be right to look ahead to one last feast. There's time for one more fly, at least. Just then, he sees one buzzing by. Last flick, last fly, then gulp, goodbye. Buddha fasted in search of bliss, but a frog would rather go like this.
Our next reader is Susan Church Downer. Finally, I have a face to the name.
I know. Thank you. I'm Susan Church Downer, and my first poem is It Was a Song. I also wrote a song for you. It was a very good song, but we had a bit of a disaster backstage. Melody, or as she wanted to be called, the Melody, such a diva, had a sudden attack of stage fright and refused to appear. Pleading and flattery and threats had no positive effect. Save yourselves, she whispered, slipping into the ethereal cocoon that had brought her to me, retreating to her birthplace, the vast land of memory, getting smaller and smaller until the lyrics, untethered now, fell out of formation, wandered around in confusion for several minutes. The strongest words took off to find a writer who could keep it together. The second string went out for a smoke and never came back, leaving only the conjunctions scattered about in grumbling piles, wondering if they'd still get paid. It really was a great song before all that happened. And this one I thought was appropriate for writers. It's called Writer's Block. Trying to write, abandoned by inspiration, my brain blank, I've come up empty again. I read my other pieces, hoping to jumpstart some passion, and they bore me. I look outside for material and can't find the juice. Everything I write is crap. Everything I've ever written is crap. Everything I write in the future will be crap. Who do I think I am? Then later, when I'm otherwise occupied, bits of dialogue, opening sentences, silky narratives, and fascinating plot lines swirl around unbidden, inconveniently demanding attention.
like unexpected guests arriving in the middle of a family quarrel. Awkward, but welcome, bringing respite and gifts to be opened later.
I've been practicing Abby's name. I'm going to do it now. Our next reader is Abby Bogomolny. No? Perfect. Perfect? Yes.
Hi, everybody. I'm Abby Bogomolny, and I am reading a poem called Swept. Even the sweat of July could not stop us. The windless, stifling afternoon, fraught with a white-hot sun and teabag humidity in a quiet little town, fevered, baked, and soggy, we were close. Water oozing from our paws, indoors with a fan blowing, or outdoors in the porcelain bathtub beneath giant pecans, spiraling lianas, and green lush life, awaiting 4 o'clock rain. Later, under the crescent moon, you pointed to the Pleiades on St. George Island. Nothing could stop us from going camping in my pickup off the Florida Panhandle. The muggy pine flats were deserted, as were the wide, soft beaches, swept into dunes by Gulf winds that made sand fleas burrow. For 8 sweaty miles we hiked, hauling our water to the bay side of the island, where the only well belched a sulfurous brine. When the sun dipped low and long wispy clouds went wild in a display resembling the color of salmon, golden jewels, and pokeberries, ospreys and pelicans dove down to the same liquid dinner table. Above an oyster reef, we stood in the brisk bay wind that dried the sweat and kept the mosquitoes from a feeding frenzy with us on the menu. Your eyes followed gull-billed terns while I painted swirling pastel clouds, and we sighed with contentment as folks from Alabama dropped down the map to twang and sip beer on vacation. We were real good then. And this is a short one here called Rise. Imagine waking up, knocking and hissing, you could rise like steam, straining pipes to the first, then second floor. You could sputter multiple languages and be called brilliant. Or you could just lie in bed, look around the room in the dark, unable to change your grainy swordfish night. If all the hoopla seems to belong to others, friends, laughter, fun you missed, maybe it's because your prime time sits at the end of tomorrow's afternoon. When the pale sun rises, one moment is all it takes to use your treasure. Rise.
Our next reader is Anna Citrino.
So I'm Anna Citrino, and I'm going to read a poem called Seen and Heard. I lived in India for 9 years, and I noticed how there's a lot of times when people don't really notice you. You're just something on the sidewalk. So this is a poem kind of about that idea. Seen and heard. As a child, I stared long at the hidden pictures in children's magazines, looking for the lamb inside the cloud, the face inside a pleat or tree, the button or missing bow that made one figure different from another. What satisfaction when I found them. How affirming it was to know that all those little details the small realities of the world that begged to be seen, could be found, recognized, known. Today, when I peer out at the world, the pictures I see is workers, day after day, rising with the sun to start their tasks. They feed the fire or prepare the mortar for the brick. Some lift bundled branches to their shoulders. Some hammer nails or paint the walls. Others sort through files, prepare documents, answer calls, gather round tables, or read books deep into the night. We do our tasks, we make the rounds. Still, things hide there inside the walls and trees, pressed inside the bodies' quiet folds of those we meet, waiting to be found if we know how to see. Cezanne looked for them, the hidden forms, the cylinder inside a tree, the sphere inside the head, the geometry of nature. And though his eyesight was weak, or perhaps because of it, he found the hidden shapes and painted them in planes of color so the rest of us could find them. Goya too painted the secrets others meant to cloak, the fear inside the peasant with arms uplifted, his white shirt glowing against night's darkness, the hidden faces of men turned away from view, their guns that showed the world in thickly painted strokes, the torment of a deaf world. We turn through the pages of time, and off we go each day to make our story, paint our picture, lift our bricks, do our work. Our eyesight is weak, our hearing faulty, but we stare at the pages anyway, trying to make sense of the world, hoping to find the form inside the forms, to hear the unspoken voices, or even our own voice inside the night's sky darkness we might be standing in. There we are, with our boards to nail, bushes to trim, our books piled beside us, with whatever it is we discover and make and love our world with, our arms thrust up to the heavens, hoping someone will see us, hear us, hoping someone has looked long enough, hard enough to recognize us hiding there inside the pleats and paint of life. Okay, I'm a scuba diver, and this is about the amazingness of underwater. Encounter. It was a shadow to begin with, a large moving form unidentifiable from such a far distance. A manta, I imagined, or some fabulous ray I swam toward that was also swimming toward me. Lumpy tail swishing slowly, fins swinging gently from side to side. Gradually the shape emerged from the deep, a strange, warm, silver disk of a fish, as wide as my body and several feet longer. A 2,000-pound living myth drifting my way, a mola mola. I paused in my movement, floating inside the vision of the astonishing fish, whose eyes pondered me with calm curiosity as I waited before its enormous presence, suspended in wonderment at our unexpected meeting. Everything inside me fell into a deep silence, time dangling in liminal space of the seen and yet unfathomable. A great door swung open as when in the moment of a smile flooding your spirit with light, you meet the one you will love for the rest of your days, and you fling back your eyes, curtained windows, knowing you've touched a mystery and life will never again be the same. The world has its brokenness, and we, in the poverty of our incompleteness, our difficult effort to create a wholeness as magnificent as the sunfish hold in its own body's surprising round presence. Some on this earth are lost in a grandeur of delusion. Divers understand to meet a mola mola is a rarity. You may never see one in a lifetime. No thought arising at the encounter, but the desire to humble yourself. Diminishment, a gift, allowing the extraordinary to be recognized when it emerges from the depth, presenting a quiet recognition of the ocean of awe we live inside.
The ocean of awe we live inside. Wow. Touched a mystery. Okay, our next reader is Fran Carbonaro. There she is. Hi, Fran.
Hi. So this is my idea of church, and I'm glad to be here. My name is Fran Carbonaro. I dug deep into my archives for these two poems. I went through that experience of crap, everything looked like crap, and then I found these two. This first one is called Harbinger. A cloak of mourning came to me today, her ivory and indigo adorned wings brushing the air like lace, her burgundy black beauty softening secrets at long last cracking open, those soul had hidden from psyche. Emerging from a cornice of winter's cold, she arrived, harbinger of a new spring, unlocking my innocence and joy, lodged somewhere between memory and deja vu. A young girl chasing butterflies, arms outstretched, laughter unleashed. Where could she be? Soft breezes returned me to the trail where I could find no sign of her dark grace in any direction. Had I missed the moment? I feared I had lost her then in the gulf between a child's joy and a woman's sorrow, but she persisted, landing at my feet. Then down the path she flitted, finally returning to this safe haven. Lifting my hand to the sky, she landed there, resting, wings closed, waiting, breathless, timeless. Wings fluttered open and she was gone. I spun around to see her swirling, spiraling up toward light and warmth. No longer alone, in tight circles they danced into an open sky. And this next poem is called A Photo. It is dedicated to my brother who left his body 10 days ago. The man that I've known the longest in my life and had the most complicated relationship with. And this is the first of many poems I've written for him. I've searched for the photo for several months now. The one of you and me in front of our big white house on a busy street in a small white city next to Oakland. Our city, featured years later in the suburban wall, an expose of our town's blatant discrimination. I had been confirmed at St. Leander's only hours before and was running a big dose of holy through my 10-year-old veins. How could I know it would be the only time in this life that I would wear a white veil with a white dress, with most of my family gathered around me in pride? You were dressed in black, and parked behind us was your very shiny black 51 Chevy Coupe. Tijuana tucked and rolled interior and cherry red. Dixie Peach Cruise straight up, hands stuffed in pockets, wearing that give me a break expression and ready to roll. Two ends of the same sorry spectrum, me in faux forgiveness and lost innocence, you in dark denial and toughing your way through. Playing our roles so well, we found relative safety in losing each other and traveling in opposite directions. If I could have stepped past my clean white borders of fear, turning to you, air slapping your testy mug and laughing, "Hey, little Cicely, you don't scare me," you might have knocked the veil off my head. I might have chased you around the lawn. Thank you.
So our next reader is Pamela Singer. She's going to jump the line because she has to leave early. Pamela, you still here? Okay, come on up. Come on down.
My way. Thank you, Les, for getting me.
You're welcome, sweetie.
That's okay. Well, my name is, let me get this right. Can you hear me okay?
Lift it, lift it.
Hi, Dr. Walters. I know her name, it's Nancy, but since she's been my vet for a million years, I always call her Dr. Walters. And she is the best vet in the world, though she's retired. Okay.
Come back to the mic.
Pardon? Oh,
That's for you.
is this okay?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if any of you have heard of Bruce Johnson. He is a sculptor who unfortunately recently died. And he made these giant sculptures out of redwood. And there were a bunch next to Sutter Hospital, and they burned up in the fire. And he was a genius. So on his land, I used to live in Timber Cove, and his family were my neighbors. And this is about, he built a little structure on his land, 30 acres, and he called it the Poetry House. So this is dedicated to Bruce Johnson. And, oh God, I keep screwing up, don't I? Sorry. The Poetry House. How's this?
Good.
Too loud now, right? The Poetry House for Bruce Johnson. Moves with tides, fog breaks its walls. Blake, Keats, and Shelley suspended in air. Books tumbled onto shelves, pages rimmed with fingerprints, quail feathers between the pages. Moths enter at night, write their history between wood and sheathing. In the center, a copper pentagon, sundial without time, shelves carved with shapes of animals and moons. I sit on a bench near glass doors, patterns like leaves, knobs of copper burned blue, drips of turquoise, a burnished sky. How did I get here? By horse, wolf, wave? Swept by wind, I forget to sleep. Spilling words, Poetry House returns to earth, fallen into an eyrie taken by osprey, the sea. I polish walls and floors with my breath, ceiling with tongue, roof with fingers. Poetry House is one word upon another. Mountains opened, the self disappears. So that's one for Bruce. And, thank you. And I'm going to read one. It's hard to choose. When you write poetry all day long, it's hard to choose which one. So this one was written, I think it was last year when we had what was called the atmospheric river. So it's called All That's Left. Disintegrating soaked mattress and camouflage tent inside of road ditch. Atmospheric river ripped a dilapidated man who called this home to the Russian river's mouth into the vengeful sea. 30-foot waves cracked his body among seals split like slabs of meat. Shredded birds, boulders, tree trunks, twisted kelp masses enveloped distorted beaches. Mallards and coots scale wave mountains. Streams and creeks overflow, mudslides cover roads like thick fudge. Floods steal homes, furniture, clothes, as if from a dollhouse. 50-mile-per-hour winds toss them like children's toys. wrecked Christmas tree ornaments and tinsel clusters like silver seaweed sparkle in downpours. Spirit rivers transform placid water into a swollen, massive beast. Underneath, fish swirl madness. Thank you.
Our next poet is Susan Gunter.
I'm Susan Gunter. Gunter, how is this with the mic? Okay. This first one is for Linda and for Fran. This is called Psychostasia, and I don't know how many of you know this, but in Crete, the Minoans used golden scales to weigh souls after death. And the heavier the soul weighed, the higher you would rise in Minoan heaven. So I am postulating that both Linda and Fran, when their souls are weighed, they would be very heavy, and they would rise very far. Okay.
You're not suggesting a diet, are you?
Souls. Thank you. The jellies fall over and over through the salty water in the Monterey aquarium. Gelatinous invertebrates trapped in glass cells. I breathe with their rhythms, my abdomen contracting as their bells squeeze, in, out, in, out. Their vapor trails hypnotize me. Gaudy organza reflecting light in neon colors. I wonder whether jellyfish souls weigh anything. Can they move the golden scales? I won't be here when mine is weighed. I think of the changes the sea makes in our blood, until finally we pull aside the diaphanous curtain of eternity. Thank you. This next one is called Bone Marrow Meditation. Now, exactly now, there are tiny white elderberry stars scattered on my black spiral steps, the ones I have climbed only once this season. Summer is never enough. It's a facsimile of my life, which now will not be quite enough. Maybe I ought to be angry. My unruly bone marrow cells have gone haywire. But then a survivor told me I could get enough. Summer, love, books. My mind, is there bone marrow in there, can keep the B cells, or is it the T cells, from spiraling out of control, from making my blood so viscous I can't see. If meditation fails, then it's blindness. And I can't play that head game just 2 years from my last bid to become Homer. So I will try mind control, me besting me. I found a bone marrow cleansing meditation on the web. I hold a golden dome over my head and flood my body with silver, washing hundreds of millions of cells clean until they glow like the tiny white stars on my bedroom steps.
Our next poet is Karen Fitzgerald, who's going to make the long trek from the back of the room. Who's the one following?
Hello, I'm Karen Fitzgerald, and I'm going to read one poem for you today, and it's called Here we go. Walking into the not yet. She complained about forgetting words. Welcome to the aging process, said I, her older sister. I'm too young. It can't be that. Not yet. I assured her it was nothing. She hoped that was true, but feared the worst. We didn't know enough to know the worst, not yet. Time passed, the problem worsened. We saw doctors, they ran tests. MRI, CAT scans, cognitive questioning type tests. Nothing unusual, no diagnosis, not yet. A year passed. It got more worse. Doctors said anxiety, stress. Sister entered therapies, underwent more tests. Still no diagnosis, not yet. I quit my job. I would make every day left a day in sister's company. We took hikes, did adventures to the beach, the mountains, the city. Fun 2-day adventures. Nothing she could talk about. But smiling, laughing, it was not lost to her yet. Soon our hikes shifted to walks along familiar paths. We were approaching the end, but not yet. They said her body would soon begin forgetting. That's how it goes. Aphasia. Simple tasks like brushing teeth, hair, washing face, it all disappeared. She lost all her language by the end of the next year, but it wasn't over, not yet. They said our daily walks were keeping her alive. She forgot how to stand, lay down, sit down, how to eat. She forgot how to swallow. But not walking, she never forgot walking. Doctors said it's what was keeping her alive. In her last months, we walked past paths where there were benches. We'd hold hands, just like when we were little girls. We'd sit in the sun, her head on my big sister's shoulder, my arm around little sister to keep her warm. She'd sleep. Me, I'd cry, quietly, softly. No sobbing, not yet. She lost all affect, but for that wonderful smile. When something delighted her, she'd smile big. Whenever I entered her house, she'd smile big. Otherwise, though, little sister no longer reached for my hand, no longer hugged me back. And that was okay. She embraced me with that smile. I think she knew yet was close. Actually, I think she decided she was ready to leave. During the night of the day of our last walk, she went to sleep and left me behind in the not yet. Thank you.
Our next poet is Joanne Smith.
Never a place one wants to be, especially alone. In a hurry, they weigh me. No time to remove shoes, extra layers, glasses, ring, watch. Annoyed, my weight will be inflated. Wheeled to a small sterile space, single bed, medical charts, thumbtacked in random order to lime green walls. I respond to the instruction, you can lie down now. An air conditioner blows cold. My breath is labored and shallow. An invisible pressure on my chest, more terrifying than pain. Blood pressure high, oxygen low, scar on my left breast, placid, but ever present. A masked nurse, I can only see her eyes, knocks but does not wait for an answer, pushes a lab cart through the door. I tell her I'm a tough stick, asks if she's the A-team. She may have smiled, but she pokes a needle and misses a vein 3 times, once in my helpless, bloodless hand, before the A-team arrives. Blood finally flowing, I ask for a blanket and am told I've put the gown on backward. It should open in the back. That's why you're cold. Embarrassed, I wonder if they flaunt this knowledge as a trade-off for kindness. One leaves, another arrives, pushing a different cart, complete with TV screen displaying blue blips and grainy green graphics, a rerun loop of my heart. The antenna stuck to pivotal parts of my chest, I think. How convenient for me to have put the gown on backward. More tests, some repeated, but mostly waiting for another knock that ignores an invitation. My mind keeps bargaining that my life has been rich, and if this is the end, so be it. But I'm terrified, not ready, too much to repair, happenings not to be missed, a heart not fully opened. Tears roll into my mask. I can't pray. It seems so selfish to add one more plea when God is clearly not coping. After 6 cold hours, I'm discharged, poked, prodded, scanned. They think they know what it isn't. Your doctor will call you. One more test, and we think we'll know what it is. My experience in the emergency room. The second poem is called Write It All Down. Here's the thing about a poet's heart. You can put it in a vice and squeeze it to its last drop of essence. But if you don't kill it, no matter how slowly, it will fill again. It will grapple with the bramble of necessary contradictions, compassion or vengeance, curiosity or conviction, equality or submission, and in an honest quest for elusive truth, write it all down. Poets live on the edge, peer into the abyss, pause, then step back to secure footing on solid ground and look up to the grandeur of the unexplainable and write it all down. And I'm missing my second page. How awful. Oh, Fran has it.
Fran has it. Of course she does.
So on one Saturday, my heart was drained by the inhumanity of humans, and on the next Saturday, in a room filled with the wise, soulful words of poets I love, I believed again. I can hold gnawing disillusionment in one hand, and with the other hand, cradle my heart, take a deep breath, feel the flow of fresh infusion pulse through my veins to a heart beaten down, but born to beat on, willing to fill again and compelled to write it all down.
So, in case you're missing a second page, Fran will have it. A likely story. Alicia Hug?
Let's see, do we have this mic right? Okay. Can you hear me now? Okay. My name is Alicia Schooler Hug, and I'm so honored to be here and read my poem about a strong woman, because I see with Fran and with Linda, these are strong women, so this is the first poem that came to my mind, and I'll share it with you. Fueled by ages of maternity, woman propels eternity, conceives, nurtures, and releases, sassy females, brazen males. She shapes destiny. A strong woman never sacrifices her children to war, to hate. Counsels her young instead, make peace, make love. Two-legged woman, fierce as a four-legged mammal, her womb a sanctuary, releasing and propelling its issue through life. You there, old men, warlords bound by power quest, free my sons, let go my daughters, they are not your pawns. Red spill up on earth, enabling your greed for power. Oops, I should write this out. Right, now I'm on second page. Okay. Fraternity, maternity, eternity. A strong woman seeks pleasure, reaps pain, challenges tomorrow's mysteries, embraces the wind and flings it back into the ages, energized by nature's tuition, which is the cost of being a strong woman.
Oh, wow.
Since yesterday was Maya Angelou's birthday, I'm going to do my Maya Angelou poem. I hadn't really prepared for this. I thought we just would do one, but I'll do this one. I'd like to walk with attitude, like Maya Angelou, to strut with head held high, tall and straight and regal, wearing sassy on my shoulders, daring life, stirring souls. To dance without restraint, free as her uncaged bird, arms embracing the wind, hips swaying in inner rhythms, born from shimmering lows to shimmering heights of primal energy, provocative. To sing songs with perfect pitch, releasing words seasoned by life, vibrant voice scattering crystals, stirring, sharing sound, healing listeners with spirit tonic, inspiring. I'd like to write like the master Shiro, mind-spun fresh prose and poetry, quenching parched minds, sharing wisdom gleaned from 10,000 nights of condemnation and 1,000 days of adoration. I'd like to rise.
Our next reader is Betty Less.
Hello, everyone. Hi, I'm Betty Less. My first poem is about spring and about insects. I'm a zoologist. Forgive me. It's called Pale Morning Dun. Observe the mayfly, ephemerella, pale morning dun, crawling out of her body, emerging from the water to a beautiful spring day. She rests in alder shrubs, hardening her wings, producing her eggs, waiting for the ancient call to join the swarm, to mate. She flies low over the water, depositing an egg here and there, until she is spent. Is it sad or profound, such beauty, so brief, a lifetime in 3 days? What is time but relative, human life a heartbeat, compared to a redwood, compared to a rock? My second poem is about the cosmos and about stars. It's called Star Chatter. When Earth's face turns away from the sun, and in the darkness we can see the stars shining, listen, for they are talking too. Find a dark, silent place, lie down under a milky sky full of stars. Feel them draw close, cover you with a blanket of the softest bird down. Then listen again for the star chatter. There are various observations, wars, acts of kindness, exquisite beauty, terrible grief, what they make of our travails, what they hope we will do or not do to save ourselves.
I see you moving already, Breon. Breon Kelly Brennan.
I'm Breon Kelly Brennan. Oh, there we go. How's that? Breon Kelly Brennan, and I have 2 poems. And I joined Redwood Writers several years ago and ended up in a wonderful poetry group. And Fran Claggett Holland became my poetry teacher and mentor. And she's such a wonderful person and teacher, and she just infuses all my poems. So if you don't like these, it's her fault. Crow, for Fran Claggett Holland. Maybe it's not that hard, Crow. Maybe I can just say, I am afraid. Bow twice, present to us the shiny objects of your discernments that we dazzle into verse under your spell. The pull of your mate, already gone, thin as air across your